friends, welcome back to my channel. I can't tell you how many times I've said that today already, filming intros for videos. Happy Valentine's Day. It should be Valentine's Day when you are seeing this video. I wanted to celebrate Valentine's Day by celebrating my besties in my life. These are some of my favorite people of all time, and Valentine's Day is about more than romantic love. Your life is about more than romantic love, and we need to celebrate our platonic friendships as well. If you're familiar with my channel at all, you might have known that at the end of 2024, I procrastinated reading all of my besties' favorites, and then was kind of stressed to finish my besties' favorites before the end of the year. So I'm trying to avoid doing that, and that is why I'm like, how can I get to all of these books before the first quarter of the year ends? It's also just more fun because their opinions are fresher, you know? Like, by the end of the year, a lot of the hype of these books might be totally different, so I want to read them while some of them are still just as exciting to me. If you are completely unfamiliar with what this Besties Faves situation is, my friends and I, we just have a little document that we write down all of our favorites throughout the year, and then the next year we all try to read at least one from everyone's list. So I have 7 books, and I'm going to try and read them all in 7 days, and I'm a little stressed out because I have not completed other content that I'm working on. So I actually have like 2 other books that are not part of this series that I have to try and finish in those 7 days as well. Can you see that I've played myself? I am going to go ahead and go through all of my besties and what I chose for them now. If you don't want to be spoiled for everyone's pick, like in one go, I'll include the timestamp of when my vlogs actually begin. So if you want to go to that now, yeah. Now this order I'm about to tell you is not necessarily the order I'm going to read them in. It's just the order that I selected the titles. So to start with, we have my bestie Ashley, who is more active on Instagram at Of Fiction and Fantasy. And for that, I have chosen Bittersweet in the Hollow. This is by Kate Pearsall. I have no idea what this is about. If you know me at all, you know that I never look up the descriptions of anything I'm gonna read. Sometimes I've, through osmosis, like gleaned an idea of what something's about, but otherwise I'm clueless. I know that this is a young adult, and that may or may not have contributed to why I chose it. I also thought the cover was just absolutely stunning, so I'm looking forward to it. The back of here is saying an Appalachian book of my dreams, which is actually pretty interesting because I just read a really interesting nonfiction book about stereotypes of Appalachia. So this will be an interesting thing to read. I'm in my Appalachia era, apparently. Then for my bestie Martine from Just Martine, we don't agree on many things. I love Martine, but when it comes to like books that are our fave, doesn't usually happen the most. But for them, I have chosen Ryan and Avery by David Levithan. Here's where I'm also skeptical. The reason I chose it is because Martine loves David Levithan. I have yet to enjoy a David Levithan. He is not an author for me. I have just not been into his writing style in the past. So I just thought it would be interesting to pick it up again, and it's pretty short, and it's, again, I believe, a young adult romance. It does say teen. So I think that for this challenge, it was a great option and felt very Martine in the choice. You know what I mean? Then for Ruby from Ruby Red, I will be reading The City in Glass by Nevo. This is like only, 216 pages. It's a high fantasy, I believe. I love other books by Nevo, so I'm pretty hopeful I'll enjoy this one. But again, the length called to me. I love shorter books, and Ruby and I, we have overlap in our fantasy, I'd say the most. So I'm pretty hopeful for this one. I think it's gonna be a good time. Then for Kayla from Kayla Ray Reads, I'll be reading Flawless by Elsie Silver. This is a cowboy romance. It's one of the biggest books on this list, which is a romance, which is interesting, but I look forward to it. This is one of those books, as well as another one that I'll get to, that almost constantly was added to everybody else's list once they loved it. Honestly, that's how most of the rest are. So I look forward to this. I know Kayla does read a lot of romance, and we've seen some overlap of each other's interests before, and I'm hopeful. And I just love the pink cover. Perfect. My little Valentine's Day for Valentine's Day. Then we have Adriana from Carbon Bonded Books, and her pick is probably the one I'm most excited for, and that is going to be The Lager Queen of Minnesota by J. Ryan Straddle. This was a Bailey favorite from I think 2 years ago now, which is wild to think about. And I had almost chosen it as Bailey's favorite, so I'm really excited that Adriana then had it on her list. And Adriana has a lot of different genres and different types of books on her list, and I think that this is the area we're most likely to overlap anyway, and I'm really, really excited. Then for Lizzie, from Lizzie's Literary Life, I'm going to be reading Bright Young Women by Jessica Knoll. This is probably the most well-received book on anybody's list in the last few years of us doing each other's besties faves. Like almost every year, someone read it for someone and then ends up on their favorite of the next year. So I'm excited to probably add myself to that list. I'm sure you've seen this everywhere, but it's a kind of approach at a famous serial killer story, but this is instead focusing on the victims and putting them front and center in our minds and in cultural relevance. So I look forward to getting to this one. And then finally for Bailey from Is Bailey Reading, I'm going to be reading Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. As of right now, I have still not read any Abby Jimenez ever. I am currently working on a video where I will be reading her books. And I know I didn't have to read them in order to still enjoy them, but I will be reading Part of Your World for that project. So that should be done before I get to this one. So at least I can still say I read them in the right order, and that for my brain will do good. Don't know anything about this one, romance, but I believe her books are known for being fun, but dealing with more mature subject matter, if I understand correctly. And I believe more than one of them might be like work romances. I could be wrong. I'll find out. With that though, that is your spoiler for all of the books that I'm going to be reading in this 7 and 7, but I should probably stop yapping and go read. Good morning, friends. It is Monday morning. This challenge starts today. August has the zoomies, so you might hear some paws on carpet action. I have decided that the book I'm going to start with is Bailey's pick from Is Bailey Reading, and that is Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez. The reason I've chosen this book is because the audiobook is due tomorrow. And I didn't realize that, and there's holds after me, so I cannot renew it. And if I want to listen to that audiobook, I need to read it now. Luckily, because of the nature of this challenge, I hope I finish this in like a day anyway. So if I stick to my goal, the audiobook won't be a problem. I do think it's probably like tomorrow around noon, so I have a little more time too, because I'm off today and I'm off tomorrow. It's currently about 11 a.m. and I have not started reading anything. I am going to be going to my friend's house, and I think we're going to go hang out at the pool for a little while. So that's the other reason that I am not dressed or done my makeup or anything, is because, well, if I'm going to swim anyway, what's the point? But yes, I just wanted to jump in and let you know that this is the goal for the day. Unfortunately, I have some other things I also need to finish reading-wise that are not for this video. So send good vibes, please, because I need them right now. Hi, friends. So I am 30 pages into Yours Truly. I obviously haven't read much, but I am about to be heading out to go to my friend's house. I think I mentioned it earlier. I'll get some B-roll of our hangout. But I have read 30 pages. We've been introduced to our two main characters, and I'm so excited because I just completed Yours Truly like literally a couple hours before this. So Bree is so fresh in my mind, and she was definitely one of the major highlights of Part of Your World. So the fact that this is her story, I'm simply obsessed. I love her a lot. And so she is up for a new position at her work. She works at an ER wing center. at a hospital, department at a hospital. She's up for a promotion that she really wants, but she's just been informed that they're not going to give her that promotion until they give the new employee a chance to basically put his hat in the ring. And his name is Jacob Maddox, and he's like a new doctor who's already not made a great first impression with our main character and some other characters at the hospital. What I do love about what I've read of Abby Jimenez so far is both books have been dual POV, and I definitely prefer that to help me care about these characters. I mentioned that when I was reading Part of Your World for that other vlog I'm doing. I was like, I just like being able to care about characters more when I can see both sides of everything. And so getting Jacob's perspective has already been interesting because he deals with some pretty intense anxiety, and his ex is currently dating and engaged to his brother, who she started dating like 3 months after they broke up. And so we're getting a little bit into his story and his family's perspective on that. They are a very funny cast of characters. I'm looking forward to getting more of them. They had me giggling. Overall though, I'm intrigued. The anxiety rep is always something I'm into. If you couldn't tell, I'm like crippled with anxiety. I don't know if that's not obvious from my videos, but this is me a lot of the time. Hi friends, it is Tuesday morning. I need to update you on some things. So, day 2 of reading Besties for 7 days. Yesterday, I successfully got to page 62 of book 1. So, I need to read today. Luckily, it's sock day 2.0 because I don't have anywhere to go. I do have a work meeting online, but it's like not even on Zoom, it's just chatting. So I'm gonna do that in a little bit now. I just spent the morning kind of prepping for that meeting. And so I have about an hour before it starts, and I'm going to get a little further in this one. I'm enjoying it a lot right now. Part of Your World started out the same though, where I was enjoying the beginning and then it kind of fizzled in my enjoyment. But this one I'm a little more hopeful for because one of my biggest complaints with the other book is it just felt unrealistic that the guy was almost just so perfect. Like it bored me because there wasn't any sort of tension in any scenes. And so this little bit of miscommunication is working for me because miscommunication can definitely be very annoying. I totally get that. But I think that there's a healthy balance of miscommunication that is authentic and realistic, and then miscommunication that's just them not talking to each other clearly. Do you know what I mean? So I think that for the amount that they know each other, the little bit of miscommunication or, you know, he was rude, she was rude, trying to figure out how they interact with each other is going really well for me. And both characters, I feel like, have a stronger voice than in the first book. So I'm really enjoying that. I'm not going to try and like completely compare them. I just read the first one so soon to this that that's what's happening. I'm going to go ahead though and jump back in. There's not really anything else plot-wise that we have figured out. There have been mentions of Jacob faking a girlfriend, so I'm wondering if it's going to be a fake dating story workplace, but I can't commit to that yet. I don't know that much information yet. I made it to chapter 8 and my audiobook had to be returned. So we're going to keep going, but I am a little sad about it. Okay, I don't know how much you can tell, but this is getting me emotional already. So I won't give any spoilers, but Brianna's brother is running out of time to find a kidney donor. And my feelings are very large while I'm reading this. I am loving this book. I'm 130 pages in. It has the depth that I felt like was lacking from Part of Your World. I think I mentioned this earlier, just like more tension in scenes, good tension, bad tension. It's giving me that angst factor that I didn't quite get from the first book, and I'm just having a wonderful time. I'm emotional. There are some cringe social media references, and like the other books, she also had a lot of pop culture references. Specifically, there's a lot of mentions of TikTok, which is not aging well post Trump savior of TikTok. So, you know, that's fine. It's really not the fault of the book. It was just an interesting decision to put so many references to pop culture and social media apps. I think that's just a thing, though, with, like, contemporary fiction, is the minute you put something like that on there, it's going to date it a little bit. But like I said, it's not detracting my enjoyment. It's just making me, like, roll my eyes a little bit when it happens. But the rest of the stuff is making me emotional, and I am like, I have actively shedded tears already. Okay, this book has me cracking up. I'm not gonna say what's going on because it's part of the joy of it, but one of the characters just went, damn, double homicide. And I'm laughing so hard. This is fantastic. Sorry if you can hear club music in the background. Emmett's showering, and apparently his song of choice is Turned Down for What? I did finish Yours Truly by Abby Jimenez, so I wanted to jump in here. I'm not going to do any spoilers for this. You've obviously seen my thoughts throughout. I enjoyed it. I think I would give it a pretty solid 4.25. Maybe a 4.5, but probably going to lean 4.25. Romance is always going to have me going when they behave a certain way. And there's a certain messiness I like to my romance, which is why, like, Magnolia Parks worked perfectly for me. And this one's messiness just made me more, you know, the whole time. But I had a good time. I liked directions it went to an extent. The communication, couldn't tell how I felt about it, but just overall I had a really good time. This had that substance I felt like was lacking from Part of Your World. So I'm really happy with this. Bailey, good choice. But now I need to decide what I'm going to read next because it's only like 6 p.m. And so I still have time on day 2 to get caught up, question mark. I'm not totally in the mood for a romance because that was a romance, but I kind of want something short. So the 2 things I was considering was Ruby's pick or Martine's pick, but I think my brain only has capacity for something lighter. So I'm going to do Martine's pick, and that is Ryan and Avery by David Levithan. If you didn't watch my little intro where I introduced every book I'm choosing, I chose this for Martine because they really like David Levithan. They're a huge fan, and I have not loved any of his books that I've read. So I just look forward to it. This just feels like a Martine pick. I think it's going to be a good time. It's a young adult romance. I think it's going to be a good pick for tonight. So I will jump back in once I know anything other than the fact that I'm assuming this is Ryan and Avery. Good morning, friends. It is day 3 of this challenge. It is about 10 a.m. I have to head out for work in just a few moments, but I wanted to chime in and let you know how little I read yesterday. So I did start reading Ryan and Avery, and before I started, I was actually kind of yapping with my besties, and I was like, I just don't like David Levithan. But then I was like, maybe I do not mind his writing. I was trying to think of what I had read, and the problem is I read books from his before I even had a Goodreads, and I was keeping track of what I read. So I was kind of just going off of vibes of what I felt like I remembered writing, and that was like Will Grayson. I think Hold Me Closer, which was like, I think like a spin-off novel of that. And then some of his other ones as well. And while I absolutely love what he's doing for queer young adult literature, like I think it's fantastic. I could totally see why someone loves him. His writing is just too flowery for me. I think that it's kind of how I felt when I tried reading Tomorrow and Tomorrow and Tomorrow, where it's just very quickly I don't get along with the writing style. I don't really love flowery purple prose. This is not super purpley, don't get me wrong. It's actually pretty succinct, but his metaphors are really big and elegant, I guess would be the good word for it. But that's just not what I reach for when I read a book. So that brings me to kind of a couple thoughts. It's almost making me, so when I say that I'm not like a huge writing person, I'm a character person. I love characters. That is what, there are definitely going to be some books with beautiful writing that I love, but I've noticed that across the board, the writing can be worse if I love the characters. So it kind of inspires me for this book, because I have two options. Wow, I'm yapping now. But I was debating if I should put this down and pick up something else for Martine. And I'm torn, because the other option I have is one of the middle grades that they had on their list. And I am interested in that one, but I really want to almost take this challenge as an opportunity to push past what I would have maybe DNF'd, which is the writing style, and see what I can still enjoy from the story and see if it encourages me to, if I can start actually feeling for these characters by not just letting the writing style dissuade me. I also just want to read more trans books. That is always going to be a goal that I have had and will continue to have. So that's another reason where I'm like, I don't really want to put this down. I want to see what I can gain from it and see where I can understand Martine's love of it, because I could totally see why someone would love this writing. To me, it just makes me, when I read super elegant, flowery writing, it just makes me focus too heavily on it, and then I struggle to get into the actual story. All of that was me yapping just to tell you that I'm 8 pages in. So I think I'm going to, at the very least, keep going. I figure if I get to page 150 and I'm still feeling this way, I'll put it down and pick up another. It would kind of suck for this challenge, but it'd be worth it to just give Martine a fair shot. I'm going to keep reading and see how I feel. The characters' names are, in fact, Ryan and Avery. We are following these two characters as they go on their first 10 dates, but you're reading them out of order, and I actually think that's a really fun storytelling tool that I look forward to seeing how it develops. But yeah, that's all I have. I just wanted to tell you that, like, those are the problems I have with why I don't typically pick up David Levithan books, but that's why, even though I don't pick up David Levithan books, I want to pick it up because I care about Martine's opinion. I'll be back once I'm done with work. I need to read, but Sharmy, he just wants to be held right now. Weirdo. Hi friends, I'm home from work now and I'm about to start making dinner because it's the evening now. I am about 92 pages into Ryan and Avery, and I just wanted to clarify some of what I was probably trying to explain earlier this morning. I haven't edited that clip, so maybe I sounded fine, but I don't feel like I was really articulating well enough. I still do find myself struggling with David Levithan's writing. But it's not that his writing is particularly purple, it's almost the opposite. His writing is very, very succinct, but I do stand by that there are a lot of metaphors and a lot of emotion, I guess is the best way to say it, where I 100% would understand why somebody is obsessed with it. Like, it is beautiful writing, but I do continue to think it's distracting me from the story, which luckily this story isn't super complex and I am really enjoying it. I do like the two characters and I love the different looks into their family life and how different their family life looks for each other. I also started dating my husband in high school, so I feel that like overwhelming sense of emotion that these two characters do, and I just like, I think that he's doing a very good job of emulating that feeling. And then jumping between different dates is really interesting. But yes, I'm gonna stand by my thoughts on the writing, but I'm really happy that I have been pushing through and will continue this story because I think that it's an important story to be told, just that not every story is a coming out story or the same coming out story. And I think this is just a beautiful example of queer love, queer young love. And I'm having a very good time. Listen, I'm sorry that I keep wearing this sweater every day, but you don't understand how comfy cozy it is, and my mom got it for me. So I'm going to be comfy cozy. Dinner was delicious, and I'm going to read this book. Hello, it is, what time is it? 10 p.m. And I have finished Ryan and Avery. Okay, so just to do some maths first. So this puts me at 2 books completed on the 3rd day. So if I can get more than halfway done on another book, I think that would be pretty good. But we'll come back to that. I think I'm going to go ahead and give this a 3 stars out of 5, a 3 out of 5. I overall thought it was good. I really did care for our characters. I thought they were wonderful. I loved, like I said, the different elements of different home styles and the way that, you know, their home life was like with their parents. I liked the way that it was portrayed in the 2 relationships. Like, I thought it was well done. I do think, I don't want to spoil anything, but I do think there was an interesting choice that was made in this book that I think is authentic to what a lot of children would go through. It's nothing crazy serious. It's just a certain relationship dynamic that does not necessarily resolve the way that I expected. And I think that it was certainly an interesting choice and authentic to a lot of stories. But I just didn't, I don't know, it was a bold move, and I don't necessarily think good or bad about it, but I did overall really enjoy this book. I think this is a solid read, especially for young queer teens. And those are really most of my thoughts on this, other than like the writing stuff and all that. I talked about that before. So now I get to think about what I'm going to read next. Let me ponder for a moment. Hello. So I'm happy that I was encouraged and pushed to read this book because of Martine. Thank you, Martine. I think this is a really beautiful story, and I just don't know if I articulated that well enough. I'm happy that this challenge pushed me to continue a story that I may have DNF'd, and while it's not like an all-time favorite, I think it is going to be a nice, well-recommendable book. I was trying, though, to figure out what I wanted to read next, because I just didn't know. I knew that I wanted an audiobook, because my last 2 books, I wasn't able to use my audiobook for. So, I had one in my brain, but I put in my Discord with the besties. I was like, I don't know what I want to read. And Lizzie said, me. So I said, okay. Lizzie chose, because I could get the audiobook. So I am reading Bright Young Women, and I'm so excited. I think I'm going to get some pink sticky tabs so I can mark this up for my book club discussion. I've heard nothing but good things, even from the people reading it for book club, and I'm excited to dive in. I will check in, of course, later with any understanding of the plot, but I'm gonna go get started. Hello, it is past midnight, so I'm going to go to bed. I am 65 pages in, and I'm a little spooked because it is in North Florida and just a few days before the Super Bowl. And right now, I'm there right before the Super Bowl. I just think that that is very unfortunate coincidences. Good morning. Happy day 4, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, day 4. I woke up about a half hour ago. It's 8:30 now, so I woke up about 8. I have made my tea. I'm supposed to be doing spearmint tea, but I wanted to try something else, so I'm doing a lemon loaf tea. I have a lot of reading to do today. Sadly, not just for this video, but for some other content as well. I also would like to do research for another video that I'm making, but no matter what, I need to finish this today. So I will check in once I've made some progress. I do have a couple tabs starting. I do want to clarify, yesterday I wasn't trying to joke about the situation to take away any significance from it, just kind of lighting the mood, because it's really heavy what we're experiencing. So we are following our main character, Pamela, who was the sorority president of a society when there is a robber who comes in the house and 2 women end up murdered and then 2 women are maimed. And we're right now just kind of dealing with the initial aftermath of waking up the next day and what that looks like. But we're also getting parallel jumps to her probably like 25 years later. I think it's like 2021 in the jumps to the forward. It's like 78 to 2021. So it's definitely more than 21 years, maybe 50 years. I'm not good at math. But we're seeing that she is, for some reason, being drawn back to North Florida to... I don't know if she's going to talk about what happened, do a court case. I don't know why she's coming back yet, but she's being drawn back. Again, I will not give spoilers on this story, but that's just the general basis and what's in the description. It's definitely very, very well written, but I am struggling with feeling like I just can't stop thinking about how the victims would feel about this portrayal. So this is a fictionalized version of events of what happened during the Bundy murders. I don't even really like bringing his name up because that is a big part of this book, and I hate that it's so difficult to talk about those elements without bringing his name up. But Jessica Knoll has fictionalized characters that were not actually involved in those murders, but they're interacting with real women who did and the real victims. I've heard some reviews where people were saying they were having a hard time while reading because they kept wondering what was real and what was fake. And I would say I'm definitely like just thinking that a lot, but mostly mine's in the context of, for the things that are fake, how would the victims feel? Like, I don't know, it feels out of place to be following our main character and she'll just be like thinking about the cop being really sexy all of a sudden while there's like other really serious things going on. And I'm just like, why? I have 2 brains on that. One is like, why would you include that? It feels out of place. It feels just like pushing for this idea of a person. I don't know. But then the other half of me is like, well, she is just a normal young woman. Like, you know, different thoughts go through every young woman's brain no matter what. So I don't know. I'm torn between how much I like that and hate that. I did luckily do a little bit of research last night though while I was in bed, and I did find at least some articles talking about writing this book. Jessica Knoll has expressed, for especially the writing of her other books, that she has suffered some pretty intense sexual assault, so that's what inspires a lot of her writing from like a feminist perspective on such a horrific experience. And it said that she did interviews and research with survivors. She said essentially what's important to her is that these stories should be told, and she's trying to do it as respectfully as she can. So I'm going to give her the benefit of the doubt and just, you know, assume that she got the okay on a lot of things and she felt comfortable with how she portrayed everything. And while I can still critique that, I'm going to try to not think about it the whole time I'm reading. I am overall though really enjoying the writing. I think it's really captivating. I'm really, really hooked on what's going to happen because I don't know much about this specific aspect of the range of time of the murders. So I'm gonna go read and I'm gonna go drink my tea and I'll be back in a little bit. Hello, it's 1 p.m. I have good news and bad news. I have not read a single page of this yet. That's the bad news. But the good news is that I did finish another book I had to read for a different vlog. I was actually reading I had to read 9 books in these 7 days, and the 2 bonus books are done now. So now I can really focus on catching up, and I hope that I do. Because what are we on, right? This is book 3, 1 o'clock on day 4. I'm semi-confident. Now that I can really put all of my focus on this, I'm a little more confident. I am going to head out to the grocery store now, and then I need to head to the library as well. So I will check back in once I have made some more progress, but I probably won't listen to this while I'm out because I want to take tabs and really focus on it. I guess I could start another audiobook while I'm out. Nah, I'm gonna listen to a podcast. I'll be back. question. Would you still watch my channel if I was a worm? Good morning. It is day 5. I'm getting a little nervous because it is, what time is it? It is 8:50 on day 5, and I am 136 pages into book 3. This is fine. Everything's fine. I do have to work today, and I have a haircut appointment for Nick. And yeah, basically it's a busy day, and I'm only that far into book 3. I made my tea for this morning, so I am going to spend a little time and read before I get ready for work. So that's good. I have probably like an hour to do that. I'm really enjoying what I've been reading so far. I think that it is a really well-told story. I am still struggling with the what is real, what was added, and I don't think that's a fault of the book though. Like, she's doing a good job making everything feel seamless. I just have a hyper-fixated mind. Maybe I would have enjoyed a nonfiction more, but then the nonfictions always only focus on him. I still appreciate what this has done, and I'm going to try to only name the person as the defendant when I bring him up from now on, because I was trying to figure out what word they use, and that's the word they use, so that is the only word he deserves. Right now, our main character, Pamela, has met up with another character named Tina, and she has kind of tracked these girls down because her friend in Colorado was also killed by the defendant, and so she goes to Florida because she's convinced that based on the nature of the crimes that it's the same person, and the police are just horrendous, and they are just dismissing all of these women's thoughts. And honestly, sexism is still alive and well, don't get me wrong, but when I read a book that's set in like the 70s or before, it does hit different. It's really bad. And I just really appreciate how much these women fought for us to have our own voices. I mean, obviously this is like a fictional woman, but you know what I mean? Just thank you, women before me, for refusing to just be silent. Thank you for that. So I'm going to keep reading, and I'll let you know what else happens. It's a little later now. I'm about to head out to work, but I did manage to get up to page 253. I am still really enjoying it. There are quite annoying fictional romantic undertones that are happening between our main character Pamela and another character. And there's also another story that is a romance as to, I don't want to get into spoilers on it, but the specific situation that is between Pamela and this other character is, it just makes me it just feels unnecessary and is making me a little uncomfortable. I just don't think it has a place in this book. I don't know yet though. Hopefully something comes from that, like she's able to speak for herself or something. I don't know. I just know that right now in this moment, it's not my favorite aspect of the book. All the rest of it though, I am enjoying. Like, it is arguably well written. I'm kind of surprised it's as well liked as it is, in a hot take to say that. Like, it's well written, but I don't know. I just don't feel myself as hooked as so many other people are, which is just really surprising to me. Maybe it's just all that hype has set my expectations far too high, and this isn't quite reaching those expectations. I do have faith though that the ending could really kick it off, so we will find out. I do need to head out for work, like I said though, so I don't want to take that with me because again, I'm using like little sticky notes to like really pay attention, but I want something to listen to because I cannot just keep not doing that. So I think I'm going to start listening to Ruby's pick from Ruby Red, and that is The City in Glass by Nevo. Again, I don't know anything about this one, but it is a fantasy, and I like Nevo's other writing, especially the Emperor of Salt and Fortune series. So I'm excited to give it a go. I couldn't get a hold of a physical copy anywhere. My library still has it on order. And then even the library, like I couldn't even get the audiobook through. So luckily I did find it on Spotify, and I do have the Spotify Premium. So I'm going to listen to it on there. And I'm probably not going to set it very fast because it is a fantasy. And if I'm trying to do other things, I don't want to miss too much. But that is the plan because I don't want to go 5 hours and have had nothing to listen to. So we're going to head out. And I'll check back in when I am off of work. Hello, I've just gotten off of work. I don't know if I've been calling this book the right title, but it's The City in Glass. I don't know if I've been saying of glass the whole time. I was able to listen to a little bit of this, but I cannot express to you how many times I started the book and then restarted the book and then rewound and restarted the book and then rewound and restarted the book because it's very, very confusing. It's a very descriptive world that we are just dropped into. Nevo's writing is beautiful. Ruby has a term where she describes it as slippery writing, and I definitely feel that in this case, where it's like going in my ear and then slippering out the other ear. So I'm gonna keep listening. I'm enjoying it. It took me a long time to understand what was happening. I still might not know much of what is happening, but when I get home, I'll give you a little more of an update of like what I think is happening. Hi, I don't know what's going on with the lighting. It's like really hazy. It's weird. But hello, I'm home from work now. It is 4:23. We are still on day 5. Just to give you a little recap. I got home from work, like I said, and I have managed to get to about 31% into The City in Glass. And I have some thoughts. I'm going to preface by saying I do not have time to choose a different book for Ruby, but I wish I could because I am not having a great time. And a lot of that is because I have specifically recommended reading the Singing Hill Cycle and Nevo with your eyeballs instead of your ears. I think that their writing is much more impactful and successful at its goals when you are physically reading it, or at least doing both, like immersion reading. But just on audio, I have a hard time keeping up. But my brain before this challenge didn't put together that this was the author of the Singing Hills Cycle, and I had that thought. So the fact that I'm only able to listen to this on audio, I think is hugely impacting my overall enjoyment. Because the writing is gorgeous, but it's just not landing for me, and I'm having similar feelings that I did to Ryan and Avery, where the writing just isn't working for me. Because like I said, I can recognize when it's gorgeous, but if the character work and it just doesn't, there's something that does not quite connect for me, and that's what's happening with this book. Part of why I love their other series is the main character in that. I love seeing their journey and their perspective on things. So this story, where I feel nothing to the characters, it's just not really working. In this story, we are following a demon named Vitrin, and they have basically created not from scratch, like there were like beginnings of this city, and they have led this city to prosper, and they've kind of nurtured this city from the ground up. And that city is called Azrael, and it's almost its own character in the book, because we're seeing a lot, like it's a love letter to this fictional city. And it is a very interesting perspective that we have this demon who has been fascinated with lifting the city up in the way that they do. But then there are angels that come and they wreck the city. So there is this dynamic of these angels and these demons, and they're it's a specific angel. I don't think we ever get their name. I didn't even see the name in the description, but there's like a weird relationship between the two, and I've seen a couple of reviews comparing this to This Is How You Lose the Time War, and having just reread that, I'm getting it. I actually think that's an awesome comparison, because I'm feeling the same way, where This Is How You Lose the Time War, I really, really loved it. I did love it a little bit more than this one when I read it the first time, but it didn't stick with me until the second time I read it. The first time was a lot of confusion and not understanding who these characters are. I just felt like in general, it worked for me more. I think because I immersion read it, I was at least getting to, you know, take the story in multiple ways. And just listening to this one, it's hard for me. But it's having that same kind of dynamic of like two characters who are like almost shouldn't be communicating the way that they are, but with writing that's really confusing. And it's not doing it for me yet. I'm not going to give up on it, obviously. Like I said, I need to finish it for this challenge. I don't think that this is going to be one that I never revisit. I would like to revisit it, but I never would until I could get a physical copy. So that is my thoughts right now. I have to go run some errands, so I'm going to take a little break from that book. Luckily, I think I have oh, that's the other thing. So, not to be tooting my own horn, I need to let you know a big factor of like, this is how bad I'm confused. My average audiobook listening speed is 2.3. That is 2.25, 2.3. That's what I basically set everything to start with. I will not lie. Because I'm usually immersion reading, so I got my headphones on and the book in front of me, I will usually up that when I'm in the story until it's about a 2.8 or up to a 3, depending on the nature of the story and how complex it is. I am listening to this on 1.5 speed. That's insanely slow for me. And I still feel like I'm missing a bunch of stuff. So that, I hope, at least gives you a little context with what I'm saying, where it's just not sticking in my head. And I think it is entirely because I'm doing the audiobook. And sorry, Ruby, it's kind of a disservice to you and your choice, but I'm gonna try and take that into account when I finish the story. Like, I'm not hating it by any means. It's just I'm missing so much of it. So I'll be back after I run some errands, but I'm gonna take a break from that because I actually can't stop thinking about Bright Young Women. I can't stop thinking about it, and I want to finish it. You don't understand. I'm gonna cry. Oh my, it's awesome. Look at this bad boy. Oh my god, the Jacob. The Charlie. Look at them up there. Hi, happy day 6. I am laundered. I did a little bit of my casual makeup look. August is currently chewing on a paper bag. Charmin's upset about it. Just a typical Saturday morning here. I have to tell you the truth. Last night, the last thing you have seen me do was unbox my Twilight Lego house, which is everything to me. But I got a little under the influence, and then I did not read anything. And this is not good because when I say I read nothing, I mean I'm on the exact same page of both books. I'm nervous. I'm getting stressed out. It is day 6 and I still have to read 3 whole books and finish 2 more. Oh my god. This is not good. I luckily don't have a ton of stuff to do today. We might go to the grocery store. I'm not sure. I don't really want to, but we need to. So I might do that. Tonight is very exciting though because we are hosting slumber party sprints for the Throwback Book Club. The Throwback Book Club is a book club that Lizzie and I host. Lizzie, my bestie, in Lizzie's Literary Life. We host this book club where we try to read throwback books, and right now we're doing the Lunar Chronicles, and we were going to do slumber party sprints, and I was hoping to read the Lunar Chronicles during those sprints. I don't think that's going to be the case. I think I'm going to need to read these books, but the thing that's good about all that is that's fine. We can read whatever we want, but I'm hoping to have these sprints going until 1 to 2 a.m. I need to be reading, so that should hopefully at least help. It's still very early. I think it's 10 a.m. Still before noon. I woke up at 7:30 this morning. I have no idea why, but I'm a little nervous. It's going to make me sleepy for reading sprints. That's a bridge we'll cross later. I just want to check in and say good morning. Let you know how I'm still doing nothing. And I will actually come back when I have real book thoughts. Hello. We're home from the grocery store. It's much later in the day now, but I had to prep for reading sprints tonight. I had to prepare the thumbnail as well as some games because we're doing the slumber party sprints. So I'm trying to make it seem a little more slumber party-ish. There's going to be some cute little challenge games. I'm going to do spin the reading sprints bottle, but it's going to be for get a snack, change your book, little things, So I had to spend some time doing that. Now I'm going to make dinner. So I made a checklist of what I still need to finish to complete this challenge by the end of the day tomorrow. And it's looking tough out here. So I'm going to listen to The City in Glass while I make dinner. It's going to be super easy. I'm just toasting some panko and then making asparagus. So it's going to be really easy. I just need to listen. And luckily this is a mindless task while I listen. So I'm going to go do that. And I will check back in at some point. I'm not going to show you because there's meat and I just don't want to do that. But my dinner looks fantastic. We are going to also watch the Wizards of Waverly Place movie because we finished the show last night. So while we eat, we're going to watch that. While I was cooking, I did make it up to 70% of The City in Glass. I'll come back with more thoughts when I finish it. But so far, nothing has happened that has changed my mind. But I've solidified some of my thoughts. Hello, friends. It is 10:36 on day 6. So we are still in this to win it. I have just completed The City in Glass. Sprints are going great right now. I'm feeling good. I feel like I could keep reading for a while, and that is the mood that I needed at this time. I do have a controversial play coming in. Are you ready for it? Drumroll. I am not going to rate this book. I just gotta say it. I am not going to rate this book for this challenge simply because it just feels very unfair to do so. I thought that it was a phenomenal story. I liked hearing about the city, and it was making me think a lot about how I really want to read Northwoods. And I haven't yet, obviously, but I'd never read a story where you were following the setting through so much of its history. And I know that Northwoods, I believe, has to deal with one plot of land and you're seeing it develop. So this was getting me excited for that, which I don't know if that was the goal of it. But my mind kept straying because I just could not. Oh my god, I had to rewind so many times. I had to rewind this book so many times because the writing was so slippery, but my eyeballs had nothing to attach to. So this book probably took me 2 to 3 times longer than it would have if I had a physical copy. Or even just an ebook copy. Just something I could put my eyeballs on. And I did not have that, so it made it so difficult to care. I had to keep reading the same passages, but the passages were well written. I liked rereading it. I didn't mind that. I was just struggling to feel much. And I was just focused. I was focused so heavily on not missing anything that I feel like I was missing stuff. It also, I don't know if it's because I just read The Song of Achilles, but it was giving me Madeline Miller vibes. I think it might have just been the demon and angel situation felt a lot like the Greek god situation, and so I just kept thinking of that. I think it's entirely because I just read Song of Achilles. And again, I love that book. So it's not a bad thing that I was thinking about it. Overall, I see why Ruby liked this one so much. I would recommend it. I just really recommend you try and get your hands on the book copy because the audiobook alone did not work for me. So I'm not going to rate it because right now if I rated it, it would be a 2.5 or a 3. But I just don't feel like that's something I want to do. I don't want to do that. I want to not touch it and then down the line maybe reread it. That is how I feel in this moment. But I did complete it for this challenge. So Ruby, good pick. I do think it was a good pick. But I'm transitioning now to Bright Young Women. I'm going to go finish this, and I'll come back when I do. I'm hoping I finish this before midnight, so then I can at least have 3 books to read for my last day. Okay. Okay, it's 1:17. That was not a planned yawn. I have honestly couldn't stop yawning the last 2 hours straight, basically, even while we were chatting. It's 1:17. I have finished Bright Young Women. I stand by a lot of my opinions where the main character, I recognize a lot of why she was written the way she was, where it was kind of just meant to really show, I think, her age when things go down, how this affects and changes a person, and how it impacts the way that they interact with the rest of the world. And I think having a character like this was the perfect medium to tell that story. And literally right when my last check-in was, the minute I picked it up, we enter into basically the last arc of the story and what it's like really the climaxes, and you see like what happens, and I found that to be super engaging. I found that to be very rewarding for what we saw going on, while also being very hard in another way. I'm very confident in my 4 stars now. Before, I could have seen myself going lower, where I was like, I almost just was feeling pressure to put it higher, where I was like, I don't see many people rate this 3 stars. Is this going to be like, am I the problem? And then I got through the ending and I'm like, okay, I definitely see why it's as well regarded as it is. I'm going to stand with just keeping part of my rating system always has fluctuated. It depends on so many different elements. And for me, the element of what I didn't enjoy, which was the just constantly feeling like, I just think I like more nonfiction for this kind of story, which is good to learn about myself. So that's where I'm standing with a 4 star. I'm very, very happy with that. Totally can see why this is going to be a wonderful discussion book. I do have tabs to discuss, so it was worth the read. Thank you, Lizzie, for that. I did start reading Kayla's pick, and that is Flawless by Elsie Silver. I only got about 23 pages in, but the font is much larger. The margins are actually probably the same margins, but just the font is much larger and the pages are a lot smaller, but they're like thicker pages, so it's like a big book, but the paper is thick. So I'm actually really hopeful that I can get through this one pretty fast. I am not very far, like I said, 23 pages, but we're following our main characters. It is dual perspective romance, which I've mentioned I really, really enjoy. We're following Rhett, who is a professional bull rider who is kind of blowing up his career right when he's about to retire. He's like getting into some publicity issues. And then our other main character, Summer, she is like a PR person, basically. She's going to be sent to help him get his reputation back because she works for her father's public relations company thing. And she has to go be his assistant, and I think they're going to be like, you got to shape up and you got to be better for camera so that you can still have all the supporter and endorsers that you had. But what I'm loving is having just read the last 2 romance that I just read being Abby Jimenez's books, especially from the series of the Part of Your World series. I liked those books quite a bit. Those characters were like, in some cases, frustratingly good. Like, morally perfect. And it's kind of fun to be picking up something where he doesn't seem perfect, she doesn't seem perfect. I feel like it gives them a lot more depth, and I'm way more hooked into the characters. I'm not going to commit and say, like, I'm loving this, because I'm not far enough to feel like that, but the writing has definitely captured my attention, and I could see myself loving this. So the plan is to read this, and then I don't have the audiobook for this, so once I, like, basically fall apart and cannot stay up anymore, I'm going to switch to Ashley's pick, which is Bittersweet in the Hollow by Kate Pearsall. And I have no idea what this is about. This I probably won't update you on until tomorrow. Honestly, I'm not going to update you on either until tomorrow, but just know that I am going to try and stay up later and read, because I'm still yapping, if you can tell. I'm awake. I'm also quickly crumbling. Good morning. It is the morning of day 7. It's 9:30, a little after, which is probably later than I wanted to get up, but I physically couldn't have done it sooner. Even right now, I'm really, really tired. But I need to read. Last night, I did not make it very far, but I was going to start reading Bittersweet in the Hollow, but this takes place in Appalachia, and so the audiobook, their accents, I just couldn't listen to not following along. Like, when I was that tired, I couldn't just listen to that, so I did switch to Adriana's pick, which is The Logger Queen of Minnesota. I managed to read about 25 pages before I conked out, and kind of thought maybe I had read more, but apparently I read 25 pages. This is really interesting. I already am obsessed with the writing, but this is following 2 sisters and 1 family, where the sisters had some huge falling out because their father left an inheritance only to the younger sister and excluded the older sister entirely. And then I believe the younger sister then excluded the older sister entirely and didn't give her anything, or just kept it all for herself and started her own brewing company. And it seems like the older sister always thought the younger sister was too hard-hearted, and then the younger sister always thought the older sister was too soft-hearted. But with the brewery, it gained, like, national recognition, and I think there's going to be some sort of reason their stories are going to overlap again. Meanwhile, the older sister, I keep referring to them that way, the older sister is named Edith, and she works at a retirement home, and she makes these pies that are basically going, like, viral, where people from all over the state, and probably eventually all over the country, are coming to the retirement home to pretend like they have a family member there just to get her pies. And she was just cooking them or baking them for, like, fun for the residents because she thought that they deserved something delicious instead of something gross. And that's what's happening so far, but I loved Edith's perspective and the way it was written. I think it's a little bit cheeky, but not necessarily, like, break the fourth wall, talk directly to the audience cheeky. Just, like, the perfect little amount of whimsical, while also dealing with some more serious topics, like getting older and how that impacts how you every day. So I'm actually going to probably wait, because if I go out shopping or if I do anything, this is the only audiobook I have as an option. So I'm going to come back to this one, but I did start it and that's how far I got. I'm going to go ahead and spend the morning and try and get as far into this one as I can. I just am hopeful I can fly through it because it's a young adult. And I'm going to jump in. And I don't even know if I'm going to end up using the audiobook the whole time. I'm going to see if the accents distract me at all, but hopefully if I'm immersion reading, it won't be a problem. This one I still don't know what it's about other than Appalachia because I didn't get very far. Okay, I'll be back. Hi friends, so it is 3:30 and I need to start heading out for my Super Bowl party that I'm going to. I tried to do a very Chiefs heavy combo, if you can't imagine who I'm rooting for, but also I want to express that I care 0%. Like, I will not be watching the game, but I just thought it'd be fun to dress up. Before I go, I need to give you a recap of where I'm at. I'm both happy with the progress I made and stressed. The good news is I don't remember what time I started this challenge at, so as far as I'm concerned, I have the whole day. As far as I'm concerned, before I go to bed counts as 7 days. So I'm going to keep reading, and we're just going to see what happens. For Adriana's pick, I ended up getting to about page 120 of Logger Queen of Minnesota. This is very interesting. We've now pivoted to learning about the granddaughter more. Her name's Diana, and there has been something tragic that has happened, and now we're following her through her last year or two of high school, and we're learning about kind of how her living situation is going, and she is acing these PSAT exams, like literally getting 100%. And I think she's just kind of, I don't know, coming of age, finding her way. I don't really know where the story is going to go. I knew this wasn't a romance by any means, and I knew it was a contemporary, but I didn't think I realized how much it was going to be about family connection, and I'm enjoying it. I just don't know if I have that much to say about it, but I am enjoying it. I'm going to continue reading it, and this is the audiobook that I'm most confident I could listen to while I'm out and about. For Kayla's pick, I got less far in, but it's a faster read. So I got to page 60 of Flawless. And again, none of my thoughts are very different. It's making me giggle because I love having characters that are just not so morally perfect. Or, I mean, their morals are good, but just like, you know, snarky, bitter. Maybe their morals are questionable, but it's just a little more fun. It gives a little more angst and a little more tension to every scene. I'm not loving some of the character comments or side comments from side characters, especially like our main character's dad just keeps making these remarks about don't sleep with him, don't let him get in your pants, don't let him get up your skirt. And she like jokes back with it like it's fine. And I guess it is fine. I'm just annoyed that that's like every scene he's in is him making that kind of comment. And I'm just like, or even texts where he's saying the same thing to her. And I'm just like, okay, girl, I get it. Oh, I got it the first 2 times. You can chill on that joke now. I also don't think that I like the concept of bull riding. I did not think about that before picking this up, so it is not the fault of the book. I just should... Every book that I picked up, I looked at length, and I think I should have looked at more than that. But I am like gonna still finish this. It's kind of fun. I haven't read a romance that's kind of this new adult angsty situation in quite a while, so I'm having a good time with it, but it does frustrate me constantly the whole time I'm reading. And yeah, I don't think I love animal things, and so far there's been nothing crazy upsetting. I just like I don't like animal use in competitions. It's just not for me. But I'm gonna keep reading it because their dynamic is fun. I like their dynamic, and these are, you know, these are fictional bulls, so I can get over it. Finally, the one that I made the most progress in is Bittersweet in the Hollow for Ashley's pick. I made it to page 205 this morning, which I think is pretty incredible considering I was jumping between books. This I'm really, really liking. This is a young adult speculative horror fiction a little bit. Not so horror, but just has that kind of eerie atmosphere. It's really interesting reading this, having just read that What You're Getting Wrong About Appalachia, because I see some messaging that makes me wonder where Kate Pearsall is from. I wouldn't say, it's not doing anything disrespectful to Appalachia, in my opinion. I'm obviously not from the area. That book, though, talks about like the mythologicalizing of Appalachia and the idea that there's these creatures and there's this fantastic speculative element about it. And I don't know, I'm not from Appalachia, so I don't know how much I can comment on that aspect of it. But I like that I read that book, and so it's making me at least think of that when I'm reading this. We are following our main character, Lyndon, and her and all of the women in her family are born with some unusual abilities. Usually it's something kind of subtle but still strong. And so our main character can taste what others are feeling. Like when someone feels deep regret, she'll like taste it in her mouth. And it's caused issues in her relationships, but we're following her as she went missing a year ago, spontaneously one night in the woods. She went missing, and then now a year later, another girl has gone missing. I don't want to give too much of the plot away, so those are all the comments I'm gonna say. While reading this though, the 3 combination titles that are coming to my mind are If Practical Magic Had a Baby with Midnight is the Darkest Hour, which also had a baby with beautiful creatures. And that is what this book feels like. It is literally a combination of all three of those things. And I like the vibes of all three of those things. I'd even say this is better written than at least 2 out of 3, because I haven't read Practical Magic, but I think I'm liking the writing of this more than Midnight and more than Beautiful Creatures. So I'm enjoying this one probably the most of the 3 right now, and I'm going to listen to that when I can. Luckily this party, I don't really have to stay through the whole game. I don't want to stay for the whole game, so I'll be back, but I'm gonna go shopping and then go to the party. And you know what, if I don't finish these books today, I failed. Is that bad? This video will still be up on time. I'm not that behind, but it's still room for me. I'm gonna keep trying, but I've accepted that it's fine if I don't. But I want to use the clicky title, so I'm gonna keep calling it this. Okay, I'll be back. Friends, it's about 10 p.m., a little before. I'm home from the Super Bowl party and from shopping. I didn't really watch much of the game. It was more just to socialize a little bit, so I didn't read a ton, but I have managed to finish Bittersweet in the Hollow. This is, again, Ashley's pick, and I'm gonna go ahead and give this a 4-star. I thought it was very, very fun. Oh, by the way, I got anxious and a nail fell off, and then I ripped them all off because I was anxious. So if that's why they're gone now. But I did finish Bittersweet in the Hollow. I'm gonna give it a 4-star. I thought it was entertaining. I think that there was like a little bit where I got a little bored, but otherwise I thought the story was entertaining. I thought it was well written. I loved the descriptions of food and like Southern cooking, Appalachian cooking. I'm actually kind of surprised there's like no recipes in the back of this. Just I feel like that's like a common thing for books now. But overall I finished it. It was fun. I think technically I'm gonna try and stay up as late as I can to see if I can finish these 2 books. It might extend past midnight, but if I don't go to bed for my challenges, that means it's the same day. I know I talked about that earlier, but I'm standing by that because I still really want to push to finish these. I want to go into tomorrow having completed these. And I do work tomorrow, but not until noon. So I could theoretically stay up pretty late. And you know what? That's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna try and stay up as late as I can and count these as completed on day 7. So let me go back to reading them and stop yapping. And I'll probably be back in this exact same spot when I come check in with you again. So I didn't complete my challenge. It is 10 a.m. and it is now day 8. I failed. I failed my Bestie's challenge. I don't really know. I mean, I don't have any consequences for this. What? I failed. That's fine. Just take this as a lesson that books are books. And you don't need to stress yourself out for no reason. So I'm gonna extend this one more day. And when you see 7 and 7 in the title, just know that I know I failed. And I recognize that. And I punished myself, see? So now I'm gonna go finish my books. And like I said, you know, 7 books in 8 days still sounds incredible to me. I need to go get ready for work. I did try to take my eyeliner off last night and it was just really refusing to do the thing. So I'm gonna go get ready for work. I do have a little bit of time, so I am gonna read a little bit. and I'll let you know where I'm at, because I look crazed right now. Hi, I'm back home, and I'm cozy in my spot like usual. I am in a terrible mood. I'm just gonna start there. I'm in a bad mood. I'm gonna try and finish these books and see if they can turn this mood around. While at work, I did manage to listen to my audiobook, and I got to page 267 of The Logger Queen of Minnesota. I don't particularly find this the most interesting story in the world. I think it is a well done portrayal of the Midwest, and it is surprising me how much it has to do with running a business and how specifically beer companies work. And it definitely is not decreasing my interest. So I don't drink alcohol, and I especially have not drank beer. Any sips of beer I have made me react. I just don't like the taste. But that's not making me not enjoy this book. Like, I actually still find those things interesting. I just think because I'm not a beer drinker and alcohol drinker, I'm not getting that extra oomph of fun. You know what I mean? Like, when we read Secret Santa for Shelf This for Bailey, one of the big things that I loved about it was it took place at an editing house, and I wanted to be an editor. So, like, those little elements kicked it over the edge where I was like, I loved every little conversation about it, any bits we got. There weren't a ton. This isn't a review of that book, but I loved those elements in it. And so because I just don't really care about the beer, it's just not adding a ton to the story. I think it's, like I said, it's really well written. I do like the character exploration. I look forward to seeing how it wraps up and what is resolved or is not resolved. So I'm going to keep reading. I don't have much more to do. Right now, I'd probably give this about a 3-star. We're going to see if it changes. A very solid book, just not doing anything that super much, like, wows me. Which is a little sad because the beginning really had me. Like, that first section where we're following Edith was probably my favorite section of the entire book. And then since then, it's been a struggle to keep me engaged. So, let me finish this. And then I did this morning end up getting to page 145 of Flawless. Pretty much the same thoughts I had earlier as well. I think this is fun. I think that I have not read a book this sexually angsty in a while, so I'm enjoying it. But it probably right now isn't more than like a 3 either. I don't really like the bull riding stuff. I just skipped those scenes, to be quite honest. And some of the humor is just a little too almost juvenile to me, where it's just consistently the same jokes over and over again. But I'm still having a good time. I still like the characters. I still want to see them bang. So I'm going to keep reading. Hi, I'm jumping in right now to close out this vlog and give you my final thoughts on Flawless and The Logger Queen of Minnesota. Which one do I start with? Because I have a lot to yap about. We're going to start with Flawless. So, remember how I said I was so excited for these characters to bang? I ended up like wanting to skip all of those scenes because I hated them. I am so bummed. I'm going to be giving this book 2 stars. Probably could have been less than that. I didn't love it. I really didn't. It was fun in the beginning to be like, oh yeah, I love this goofy like energy. I haven't read a book with this energy in a while, and I still stand by that. I was just very disappointed when, and I won't give spoilers, but you know it's a romance. You know what we're reading this for. But I was disappointed that these characters, so much of the first half was them realizing that they feel comfortable talking to each other about things that they maybe don't want to open up to others about. And that was an element that I loved so much. So when they were going to sleep together for the first time, I really wanted it to be the payoff of that experience. And like, I wanted to just be like, I don't know, I wanted it to be a more emotionally impactful payoff of them, I don't know, just having more romance the first time they were together. And instead it's just because he got like aggressively jealous. And I just didn't, I mean, I love that element in stories too, or if that would have been like, maybe not the first time they slept together, but like another sex scene later on. I just wanted their first time to be more about them and less about external factors. So that bummed me out. And then from there, I just really stopped caring. Like, I was already struggling a little bit. It wasn't going to be more than like a 3-star, even when they did sleep together, if it went the way I wanted. But after that, it just really lost my interest. I don't think I'll be keeping this copy. I totally see why someone loves it. Like, I've definitely read way worse romances. Do not get me wrong. I've read way worse romances that I like genuinely hated. This one I didn't hate. I didn't feel like the effort of going through this many pages ended up being worth it, unfortunately. As for this book right here, you're not gonna believe me. You're not gonna fucking believe me when I tell you I'm giving this a 4.5. After I just came on here and told you how much I was hating this book, then we got more Edith. I think the middle part of this book suffers from not enough Edith content. Edith deserves the whole freaking world. I ended up, like, literally the minute after I said how I wasn't enjoying it, the next few pages, like, ignited the spark for the last section of the book, and everything that had been happening slowly, really domino affected, came together in a way that I loved. Those elements that I wasn't caring about the beer company, I do still stand by that. Like, I had said that those parts weren't bothering me. Like, I liked hearing about the actual business aspect, but I wasn't emotionally invested because of the beer. But by the end of how, I just don't want to say anything, but like spoilery, but how things come together gave me that bit of passion that I was looking for, and I loved it. I would almost give this a full 5-star if I hadn't struggled through the middle. I think we need more Edith in the middle. But by the end, I cried just a little bit, but I cried a little bit. I highly recommend this book, which is just, especially the way that it yesterday turned my day from a bad one to a wonderful evening, is just, I don't know, it's a testament to how wonderful the storytelling was. I think one of the things that I really did like about this book though too is that it's more self-aware than I expected, where, you know, there are little mentions of the fact that this is obviously, like, we're following a white family in the Midwest. We are following older characters who don't always get the changing of times and the way that generations change their views on what's important and what is tradition and what is not traditional. And I liked that those elements were in here and not, I don't know, it just made me appreciate the story more, because where I had started thinking like, oh, I'd get annoyed about a character doing that, or like these privileged circumstances, like, are we going to address it? Then they were addressed a little bit. And I was like, thank you. And I was able to enjoy the story as a whole still. The only other thing that I want to bring up about this though is I was surprised by how large of like a timeline we're following in this story. It's slower than I expected, because we're following a much larger chunk of time. Like, this follows several decades, and you're seeing and caring for characters. Oh, and the audiobook for this, it wasn't my favorite audiobook of all time. Like, some of the voices for some characters didn't really do it for me, but the amount of characters that this person had to voice and give unique voices to, give them an Oscar now, please, because that sounded like they had a unique voice for basically everyone. It was fantastic. I highly recommend it. I don't think you have to do it, but I just feel like it just needs some recognition for the work that person was putting in. So yeah, I loved this, and it was the perfect book to end this challenge on, because it just surprised me so much. With that though, that is the end of my Besties vlog. I hope you had a wonderful Valentine's Day, either with friends, family, yourself, you know, whatever you wanted to do to give yourself some self-care and good vibes. I think that's the biggest challenge from this challenge was just assuming that the shortest books would be the quickest reads. And this really opened my eyes to the fact that it's not true. Like, Ruby's book ended up taking me the longest to read because of the content and how many times I needed to rewind and absorb the language of the writer. I don't know if I really have any like long-term takeaways from that, but I just think it's interesting that, you know, you can plan for short books to be quick and it's just not necessarily what's gonna happen. So thank you so much for watching. I hope you still had a good time with me, even though I took you for like an extra day or two. Please don't forget to like this video and subscribe if you want to see more from me. And I should see you on Tuesday with my next one. Bye!